people have raised all kinds of, and again, this is kind of the silly season. There's not a whole lot going on. So if he makes this remark in September in the Houston Touchdown Club, nobody pays attention to it, although Alabama would have it as bulletin board material. And I mean, my question this is, what's he going to say? Okay, yeah, that, you know, we've averaged losing them 21 points in the last several years. Well, we think we're going to do that again. So, but he's trying to sell tickets and fire up his alumni. So he's going to say something like that. And look, you and I talked about this A&M team, Mark. I think we've seen this coming over the last few years. Now they've got to replace 3 guys on the offensive line, but their defensive line is going to be one of the better defensive lines in the league. And obviously they've got to find a quarterback. Is that going to be the King kid? Well, we don't know. That's a possibility. Weidmeyer is a tight end. They're always going to have a great tight end. So I don't have any doubt about that. I thought the biggest thing that happened to them in the offseason was Mike Elko staying. The defense coordinator who makes, what is it, Mark, two a year or 2.5? Woo! That's incredible coordinator money for what you and I were used to years ago. But they are, and they've got all their big games in College Station. So that also helps them a lot. I'll tell you this, and I don't think I'd hesitate to say this. If Kellen Mond was coming back, I'm not so sure there wouldn't be some people to pick A&M to win the national championship because they've kind of got everything there. I mean, Jimbo is going to come up with wide receivers. I think if Osborne would have come back, that would have made a big difference. And they'll find guys. But look, they're running backs, and especially Isaiah Spiller. Mark, could you make the argument he's the best running back besides Tank Bigsby in the league? At this point, I know Brian Robinson's good, but I don't think he's had the carries to give us that yet. So, and I'll throw out a little bit of an upset here. I was asked last week to pick some upset games. A&M goes to Colorado, and I don't think anybody mentioned that, Mark. And I'm not going to say Colorado's going to win, but if you look at what they did last year, that could be a little bit of a spooky game if A&M's looking ahead to the SEC, could it not?
It could be, especially considering that early in the season last year, even with a veteran quarterback against a pretty stout Vandy defense on a given night, Texas A&M had an issue getting by the Commodores at home early in the season. I forget the final score. It was ugly, 12-7 or something in that range against Vanderbilt. So, who knows? I believe that game's going to be played in the NFL stadium there in Denver.
Well, Jimbo's done a really good job, and look, those first 2 years were just to get the roster where it is now. And A&M beat writers, that's kind of what they've told us, is the clock on Jimbo is really just now started last year, frankly. So in that from here on in, that's what they've got to look at. But people may not like Jimbo, may not want to go to lunch with him, but I can tell you this, he can coach. And I think we're certainly going to find that out. And I'm really curious, Mark, if they were in the Eastern Division, where they would be every year. Boy, how good would that be at that point? So, and again, don't sleep on LSU. I know LSU's got all these problems swirling around with the Title IX situation and so forth. But, I mean, whoever the quarterback's going to be, I think whether it's Max Johnson or Miles Brennan, you know good and well, maybe the Emory kid, they're going to have a really good running back room. Their line of scrimmage, like A&M, is very good. I mean, virtually everybody came back. We know Stingley in the secondary is one of the best, if not the best, in the nation. People don't need to sleep on LSU. And Mark, hit me with this. I think they start with what UCLA
at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying UCLA is going to win that game, but look, if they made some improvement and they started making a little bit of improvement, UCLA did at the end of last year. That could be an intriguing game. I don't think anybody's even talked about it.
Yeah, I'm going to have fun watching that game. I love the spectacle of the location. The Rose Bowl is one of the great games to see on television,
It is.
of course. And UCLA, don't look at their record from last year as a marked improvement. I believe they went 3-4, but they got off to a rough start. They rallied. They played well. They beat some decent teams. They took USC to the wire, a game that
Yep.
they should have won. They led by a couple
Right.
scores in the fourth quarter against probably one of the top 15 teams in the nation.
Mhm.
So Chip Kelly may finally be getting things turned around in Westwood. Brent, you mentioned, and of course Texas A&M. You talk about the Aggies. Kevin Sumlin and company traveled out to the Rose Bowl for an opening weekend affair and took their lumps in the final 10 minutes of one of the historic
Yes.
comebacks in college football history, leading I think 44-10,
something like that. Yes.
and losing 45-44 or something in that range. Yeah.